The VASA, the ship that sank twice. In 1628, crowds gathered along the harbor of Stockholm to witness a miracle, a warship unlike any ever built, towering, lavish, unstoppable. She was called the VASA, the pride of the Swedish Empire, but within minutes of her first voyage, the cheers would turn into screams. The ship that was meant to rule the seas would instead vanish beneath them. This is the tragic mystery of the VASA, the ship that sank twice. Sweden in the early 1600s was rising fast. King Gustavus Adolphus, a warrior king, wanted a fleet that could rival any empire in Europe. He envisioned a grand flagship, tall, elegant, armed with more firepower than anything the world had seen. That dream took shape in 1625. The king ordered shipbuilder Henrik Herbertson to construct a vessel that would symbolize Sweden's naval dominance. The VASA was to be a floating fortress, 226 feet long, 172 tons of ballast, and equipped with 64 bronze cannons on 2 gun decks. She would carry over 400 crew and soldiers. Her sides were carved with golden lions, Roman warriors, and angels, a floating sculpture of royal power. But ambition is a dangerous thing. The king demanded the ship be finished quickly and bigger than the original plans. No redesigns, no tests, just orders. Herbertson, an experienced builder, protested quietly. He knew the ship's frame couldn't handle that height or those cannons. But who dares question a king, so the workers obeyed. They made the hull too narrow, they stacked heavy bronze cannons too high, and they decorated her top with dense oak carvings weighing tons. The VASA looked majestic, but she was dangerously top-heavy. Herbertson died before the ship was completed, leaving no one brave enough to tell the truth. By 1628, the ship was finished, but is stunning, terrifyingly unstable, and ready to sail. August the 10th, 1628. The harbor of Stockholm buzzed with excitement. Thousands lined the waterfront. Merchants paused their trade. Even families brought children to see the greatest ship in Swedish history. Trumpets blared, flags fluttered. The VASA's sails caught the wind. For the first few hundred meters, she glided like a dream. Then, a gust of wind. The VASA tilted sharply to port, and the crowd gasped. She righted herself. People laughed nervously. The cannons gleamed in the sun, but inside the officers felt something was wrong. A second gust came, stronger this time. The ship leaned again, but this time water began rushing in through the open gun ports. Within seconds, panic broke out. Crewmen screamed, passengers scrambled for safety, barrels rolled across the deck. As water flooded the lower decks, the VASA tilted farther and farther. And then silence. The pride of Sweden vanished beneath the waves. She sank just 300 meters from shore in less than 20 minutes. 50 people drowned that day. The ship lay still, swallowed by the cold, murky waters of the Baltic Sea. When news reached the king, he was furious. "How can this happen?" he demanded. "Who is to blame?" An inquiry was launched immediately. Witnesses described the tilt. The shipbuilders were questioned. But no one dared accuse the king of forcing impossible designs. In the end, no one was punished. The blame was spread so thin that it disappeared entirely, like the ship itself. The case was quietly closed, and the VASA was forgotten, buried under silt and shadow. For 333 years, she slept beneath the sea. Fast forward to 1956. A Swedish engineer named Anders Franzén had spent years searching for lost ships in the Baltic. One day, using a homemade coring device, he struck something unusual in the mud. Wood, but not rotted, preserved. He had found the VASA. Because the Baltic Sea lacks wood-eating organisms, the ship remained astonishingly intact. Her carvings, her cannons, even her masts, frozen in time since 1628, news of the discovery spread across the world. In 1961, engineers prepared to raise the ship. Thousands gathered again, just as they had 3 centuries earlier, to see the VASA rise. Slowly, the mud released its grip. The ship broke the surface, and for the first time in 333 years, sunlight touched her decks. But then, tragedy struck again. During the recovery operation, water pumps failed and one of the support pontoons collapsed. For a few terrifying moments, the VASA began to sink again. The ship that had already drowned once seemed cursed to return to the depths. Luckily, emergency crews stabilized her, and after tense hours, they finally brought the VASA to shore, safe at last. When archaeologists stepped inside, it was like walking into a time capsule. Shoes, tools, coins, even human remains, and all perfectly preserved. The carvings revealed the artistry of 17th century Sweden, while the layout exposed fatal design flaws. They discovered the center of gravity had been dangerously high. Even a light breeze could have doomed her. Preservation took decades. The wood had to be sprayed constantly with polyethylene glycol to prevent cracking. It was like nursing a ghost back to life. Today, the VASA rests in her own museum in Stockholm, 95% original, displayed exactly as she was when she sank. Millions visit her every year, staring in awe at the massive hull that once lay buried in darkness. The story of the VASA is not just about a ship, it's about human pride. A king's impatience, a builder's silence, and a nation's ambition combined to create the perfect disaster. It shows how even the grandest dreams can sink, not because of storms or enemies, but because of the small mistakes we refuse to admit. Yet in her failure, the VASA succeeded in something greater. She became a time traveler, a message from the past whispering, measure twice, sail once. Every bolt, every cannon, every carving tells that story. A story of beauty, tragedy, and rebirth. The VASA didn't just sink once. She sank twice, and first into the sea, then into legend. And now she sails again. Not across the water, but through history itself.